Hopefully you are not getting into any fights, but just in case.
Here are 31 phrasal verbs you might hear in those circumstances.
Totally just hear it.
What's up, guys, and welcome back to Why Go Friends English. We haven't done a phrasal verb video in a while, but today we're going to go over phrasal verbs that you might hear or use when you're having a conflict.
Right, or you're just watching an action movie. Definitely not fighting on your own.
No.
Not at all.
So the first section is going to be phrasal verbs we would use to describe why a fight would even happen.
Like to look down on somebody.
Ooh, man, that is just, it already makes me grit my teeth. You know, the person who looks down on somebody means that they're insulting them by saying, oh, no, you can't do that, or, oh, that's too big for you, or something like that.
Yeah, it's just kind of like you're putting yourself over them and just looking down on them. It's just very demeaning. And it causes a lot of fights. It's not like we fight all the time in America, but it's just, I'm thinking like that stereotypical high school thing. Why would a kid shove another one? It's usually from somebody looking down on them.
Yeah. Another one is maybe backing out of a promise. Let's say you had a commitment that you were supposed to do. You're supposed to be here at a certain time. You were supposed to do the thing that you said you were going to do, and you didn't.
And you back out in the last minute. Yep. No, not good.
And we're going to get to this one again later in this video.
Another one is if somebody just gets angry really fast and they lash out. That means they do something physically, like they throw something, they hit something, they break something, and they're doing it out of anger. It's a reaction. It's not something that they're thinking about. They just do it. And this is called lashing out.
And it often leads to an actual fight.
Yeah, if somebody else lashes out in response to their lashing out, that kicks off a fight.
Another one is maybe somebody barges into something or somebody. So let's say you're having like a private meeting and somebody just barges in. That is a prime time for a conflict to start. Saying like, man, you can't just do that. You can't just barge into my space like that.
Right, and it might not actually turn into like a physical confrontation or anything, but it would definitely come up with a, you're not supposed to be here. Why did you come in without knocking? Why didn't you ask permission? Did you read the sign? Did you obey the rules? This is barging in. You can also barge into conversations that you're not welcome in. You can barge into like events that you're not welcome in. It tends to be fairly like physical. Like it means you went into a space that you weren't supposed to go to in that moment.
Maybe you were supposed to give somebody something, but you didn't. And so they might look at you and angrily say, hand it over.
Yeah. Ideally, it won't get to this, but I hear or even our kids say that, like, hand it over, give it to me. And it's basically, there's supposed to be a physical exchange here.
Another part of the hand it over, though, is also there's an element of like hand over the money. Like if there's a bad guy and he's trying to rob you, he would say hand it over. And ironically, he may not be very explicit on what it is in that phrase. He just has hand it over, and you're supposed to know that it means money.
Yeah, or something precious on you, on your person, or something like that.
And the last one, which is a prime reason for a fight, is somebody cheating on something else or someone else.
Yeah, this can happen in any kind of relationship between boyfriend and girlfriend or husband and wife, where somebody's just not being very honorable, and so they cheat on their partner. This is called to cheat on, but you can also cheat on a test. You can cheat somebody, which would be like you do something that you're not supposed to do. Like you say you're going to do something, you act like you're going to do it up until the last minute, and then you pull out or you back out at the last minute. Or like a scam. This is where you cheat people. So
now that we talked about some reasons for a fight, there are some things, some kind of tells, if you will, to show that a fight is coming. It's imminent. It's incoming. We better watch out. That's just another phrasal verb for you. So the first one, and probably the best one for this example, is when somebody says, I am fed up with this.
Yeah, usually this happens after a lot of frustrations. Like a lot of things just happen all in the same day, all in the same week, month, year, whatever it is. Time is relative in English. Whatever they're talking about, they're saying, I'm fed up with this. Like I'm fed up with how difficult it is to do all of these things, or trying to start this business and everything's going against me, or whatever. This is called to be fed up with something.
When you are fed up, sometimes you will look at a person and you will say, somebody has to answer for this mess or for this frustration or for the cheating that just happened.
Yeah, maybe you're a business owner, like a restaurant owner. So you walk into the kitchen the next morning, you're like, the evening staff are going to have to answer for this because nothing is clean in here. Nothing is ready for today. So there's answer for something, but then there's asking for it. So when somebody does something that like get in your face, they're really annoying, then they're asking for it. They're asking for you to act out physically in order to get in trouble, right? This is a big movie trope that we see in movies, especially like, I feel like high school movies.
It was real in high school.
Was it?
Yeah, and we can get that into the conversation video that will go along with this one. But asking for it is a person is leading the conversation towards a conflict.
Yeah, they're asking for some kind of confrontation or conflict, and so we say they're asking for it. Usually this ends up with some kind of power play statement, like, you know what's going to happen if you keep doing this? You can say, bring it on. Right?
Bring it on, or come on, let's do it.
No, this can definitely be a, like, bring it on, bring on the challenge, right? And it can be used in a positive light, like, bring on this diet, bring on this exercise plan, bring it on, bring your best to the game, whatever it is. Bring it on can be a good thing. But it can also be like, bring on the challenge in a negative way, like, bring me whatever you've got. Like, you can't hit me harder than I could hit you kind of situation. So there are definite shades to this meaning. Context determines what you mean, and how you say it is actually very important with your intonation.
The next two are a little ironic. They are lighten up and calm down or cool down.
Oh, yeah. So when people start to get in a heated argument and it looks like it's about to head into a fight or just some kind of physical exchange, or somebody's about to do something they're going to regret later, somebody in the crowd or somebody near them might say, hey, lighten up, just pull back, calm down.
Come on, it was just a joke, man. Calm down.
Yeah, if anything, it kind of like fans the flames. So you have to be really careful with that one.
This is why English is difficult, right? Because by dictionary definition, calm down would be a good word to use. But in reality, when you have a conflict and a person's like, dude, just calm down. It's like, don't tell me to calm down. This is a big deal.
Intonation has a lot to say. Like, calm down. Okay, that is very demanding, and that's just going to make it worse. But if you're like, hey, guys, you need to settle down, you need to calm down, it's not worth it. That's still speaking as an authority over, like a parent saying this to siblings who are fighting. Okay, you guys need to calm down. All right, that's a different intonation because there's clear authority. But if you're just a friend, it may or may not help. Probably won't. So you have to be very careful with how you say it in order for it to be maybe possibly effective.
So before we get to the fighting part, let's figure out what are some phrasal verbs we could actually use to avoid that fight.
One of the first things is like to chicken out. This is kind of a rude way to say it, is like, oh, are you going to chicken out? This could be used to feed the impending fight. But we have a game called Chicken, where two people like run at each other or walk at each other or do something to each other. Like, it's going to get worse and worse the closer they get. And eventually it's going to end in disaster, right? If two people are running at each other, if one of them doesn't chicken out or move, they're going to collide, right? This game is called Chicken. It's a really dumb game. But we say if you're going to chicken out, and it comes from that game. Like, if you back out because you don't want to fight, you don't want that confrontation, they say, oh, you're chickening out.
A couple other ways to say that is back out or back down.
Yeah, he's back out or back down. We can also use this like a command, like, hey, back out, back down. Just don't get into it.
Back off.
Back off. Yeah, back is a very strong word to use in phrasals to make a fight just stop, to like avoid a confrontation actually happening.
Another back is to say get back. So like maybe the other person has like a weapon of some sort, and you would say get back, he's got a knife.
Yeah, you can hear these in the movies, in American movies. You can hear these all over the place. If you're watching a comedy movie, a comedy action movie, you might hear one of the really silly characters say, hold me back, because they're acting overly aggressive and they're not going to do much. So they're saying like, hold me back. And it's supposed to be really funny because it's supposed to be like a, what are you going to do? Like, you're not going to hurt that big dude over there. And he's like, hold me back. So it's kind of like an ironic or sarcastic thing to say.
Yeah.
It causes a lot of humor.
A really good one that is actually very natural is a person saying knock it off.
Knock it off is something like my parents used to tell my brothers and I whenever we started to get into a fight, or we're bickering, we're fighting with each other in words, or we're escalating. Basically, it's getting to be worse and worse. My dad would look back and say, knock it off. And it was like a very clear, like, when he said that, we had to stop. It didn't matter what was wrong, what was going on. There was no, but Dad, there was none of that. It was like, knock it off and silence.
Last one before we get to fighting is to hunker down. Maybe if people are just really escalating the situation, if a person hunkers down or they lay low, as another way to say it, then maybe the fight doesn't happen.
Yeah. Or it does happen, but you're not a part of it. So to hunker down around other people that are just being ridiculous, they're throwing things, you just don't want to be a part of that. If you can't get away, you can hunker down.
So now we get to the fight.
This is what Josh has been waiting for.
So the first one is to gang up on or gang up against this thing.
Yeah, and we can use this for words or physical confrontation very easily. We could use this both ways. To gang up on somebody is like multiple people against one person or multiple people against one smaller group. The idea is one force is bigger than the other. But we can do this with like a conversation too, where somebody has one belief or idea that's different than everybody else. The others might gang up on them to try to convince them or push them to acknowledge what they believe or to agree with what they believe or whatever, to persuade them even. This is called to gang up on or to gang up against somebody.
When you have a gang or a lot of people that you're trying to have this conflict with another person, you might call for backup. And this is actually a phrasal noun because backup is saying these are people that are on your side that are coming to your aid. That's backup.
Yeah, they're your backup.
So the next one is a little strange because it comes from a sport, and that is to bowl over somebody. The idea of bowl over is that you just like charge past them or charge through them, and you just kind of push past.
It's like a bowling ball.
Yeah.
Right? Like when somebody rolls a bowling ball, nothing's getting in the way of that ball. I mean, if it did, it will hurt. And that's kind of that idea, is they bowl over somebody. Little kids running around and not paying attention to where they're going, they tend to bowl over others.
The next two are a little more violent.
A lot more violent.
A lot more violent. It is to bash in or to beat up.
Yeah, the idea of beat up is obviously just to hurt somebody, to hit them again over and over and over again until they're really beaten up. They're hurt, they're bruised, they're battered. To bash in, though, is very much causing an injury. Usually we use it for like a head, like to bash in the head. But we'll say this for accidents too. Like if they fall off a horse and their head hits a rock, we'll say the rock bashed their head in. And it's very violent and crude, but you could see this in American action movies. You can use this immediately to say like, yeah, there's that one scene that I really didn't like because it was just a lot of bashing heads. You don't actually have to see this physically in order to use the phrasal verb. The last one that we're going to talk about here is to fight it out. Sometimes people just let the fighters fight it out. You can hear this in sports, like in wrestling and boxing and MMA sports, where they'll say like, we're just going to let them fight it out and we'll see who wins. But you can also hear it from like siblings, unfortunately. Like you and your brothers would go outside and just fight it out. You just let things play out. That's another way to say this, but you just let things play out the way that they're going to go. You're not affecting it at all. The idea here is basically you trust that they're going to stop when the timer happens or they're going to stop when they get tired.
So this leads right into actually ending the fight. And there are several ways this can happen, but a lot of times it is some sort of authoritarian figure coming in and stopping the fight. So for example, they may pull apart the two parties, to pull apart the fight.
Yeah, they'll either split them up, they'll pull them apart, or they'll break it up. That's another way that we would say that, to break up the fight. Hey, break it up. Okay, and that would be the way that we say it too. It's like, break it up, break it up. Okay, this has to be, again, an authority stepping in and saying, break it up.
Another way is that if one party gives up, it's kind of like checking out in a way, but it's not...
but it's after the confrontation already happened. So they've already been fighting or arguing or however you want to do it, and they just...
give up.
Yeah, and they just give up.
Then there are some ways like knock it off that we talked about before. It's just an exclamation, like get out of here, or go on, or buzz off even. That's kind of an older one, but...
That is old.
Bug off. The idea behind these is that somebody is just saying, this is the time to end. Like that we're ending the fight, which doesn't always work, but sometimes it does.
Yeah, and we can use this for things that are annoying too. We can say buzz off or bug off. Now, again, it's going to date you a little bit if you say this. Like, it's going to make you sound a little bit older because these are buzzwords for like, what, the 90s and the 2000s?
Yeah.
But you can still hear it. Like, if you're watching American movies from that time frame, you're going to hear it.
Get out of here is a better one.
Yeah, especially the way you said it. Get out of here. Get out of here.
Get out of here.
Another one is go on.
Yeah.
Just go on. And where we are, it's go on, get.
Get. Yeah. Another way is just that these two people are exhausted and injured, and so you could say something like, he's banged up.
Yeah,
or
he's feeling really banged up right now. We can do this for life. We could do it for an accident, like if you've gotten hit by a car or some kind of injury, like you fell off a roof or something. You can say that that person's feeling quite banged up. They're okay, but they feel really banged up. We can use it for a feeling, right? That something that was unexpected happened and you feel pain physically from that. You're very sore. But we can also use it for like he actually took a physical beating.
Yeah.
In English, we can also say that life gives a beating, that life in general doesn't hold back, right? Many of you know this. Thing after thing after thing happens, whether you're ready for it or not.
Yeah.
We can say that life is really beating down on us, or we feel banged up by life at the moment. But you always need to be careful with looking up some of the meanings of these, because especially with fighting phrasal verbs, there are some meanings out there that you don't really want to repeat in certain areas because it could be taken another way.
Another one similar to this is they messed him up. As in, he's really hurt, he's really banged up, they messed him up, or he got messed up.
And that's very indicative of he was beaten, or some medical professionals did not do a good job. Like they made some mistakes that were very serious. We would say they messed him up.
The last one, like a lot of MMA fights and boxing and stuff like this, a lot of these fights, they end when one person is knocked out or passed out. And that is where one person loses consciousness, they can't go on, they fall asleep, or they get knocked out, and that's how the fight ends.
Some people just say KO.
Yeah.
That is knocked out. When I was in martial arts, this is something that we would say, like, going for a knockout. We'll even make it a noun. It's definitely something to know. It's something that you can say as you describe an action movie. What happened in the action movie? The attackers gave up when they got knocked out.
Yeah, and the other one there, pass out, is actually really the only good natural way for us to describe when a person falls asleep unintentionally. We don't really have any other way other than to say lose consciousness, but that's very not normal.
Yeah, so pass out can be, it has a big range of meaning. It can be like to pass out of existence, like you die. Or it could be like to pass out, meaning go to sleep. Like he's so tired, he's so exhausted that he just passed out on the way home. Yeah. Okay, you could say that, but you could also say he passed out during the fight, meaning something like blood sugar drop or something like that caused them to like pass out.
So hopefully you never have to use these phrasal verbs. We hope that that is the case, but we also want to be able to prepare you guys just in case you hear something on TV or you see something and you're like, that doesn't really make any sense.
Yeah, you might hear it in news stories. You'll definitely hear it in action movies. If you want to describe a scene in a movie or the climax of a movie or something like that, you will likely use some of these phrasal verbs to describe it.
Yeah, and that's what these phrasal verbs are about. Like we did a video recently talking about the collocations. A lot of these, especially in fighting, are very much along those lines where there's these kind of frozen phrases like go on, get. Like that's like a very frozen phrase that becomes idiomatic.
Yeah, for areas. These also have colors regionally, depending on where you are. So definitely look them up, and like you can look up in like an urban dictionary or something like that even to find the slang meaning of some of these.
So later we're going to post a follow-up video for this where we're going to have a conversation about fighting.
Yep. It should be entertaining.
So stick around for that, and thank you guys so much for watching.
Thank you guys. We'll catch you on the next one.
Bye.